And I'm going to turn it over to Phyllis, who's going to talk to us about how to go wide and dig deep in social and behavioral change communication course. So go ahead.
Thank you, Allie. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I am located in Montana in the US. So it's around actually 11 a.m. my time. And I'm the Director of International Development Studies program at the University of Montana. Our program had just included relatively a new course in our for our IDS students a few years ago now. It's a capstone/career preparation course focused on social and behavior change communication, SBCC. As we added that course at the time that when prominent international organizations such as UNICEF, GIZ, USAID, EU started to encourage, sometimes even require, the application of SBCC in their funded projects. I just wonder quickly, without really doing an actual poll, how many of your programs offer SBCCs as part of the International Development Studies credential or training? No? And I don't know how many of you are here, but you can just wave if you, how many of you are familiar with SBCC or even teach SBCC? I don't know if people are there or not, but no. Yeah, for those who are there, and I see some, no, okay. Well, as this is actually becoming important for students to know. As I said, some of these big donors are really asking for application of SBCC in their project. Just briefly, for those who are not familiar with this field, it's a new field, it's a multidisciplinary field, it draws from different disciplines, ranging from behavioral scientists to social change communication, very critical perspective on development studies, so on and so forth. In short, SBCC is about using the power of communication, ranging from interpersonal communication to mass media, to bring about positive change by influencing people's knowledge, attitudes, behaviors, and social norms for the better. Why SBCC? For decades, practitioners in different fields, including international development, believed that giving people information, just educate them, and they would change their behaviors as recommended. So that's have been actually going on for decades and still going on. And somehow it's that whole approach called IEC, Information, Education, Communication Approach, is stuck in people's head. Even when I talk to our students in the IDS programs, if you give them a case, a problem-solving project, what do? The instinct is that, oh, let's educate people about this new idea so that we can remove some harmful practices. Somehow, I don't know why it's in students' head as their instinct. But this IEC approach, all in the sense that it's been using for a long time, still there, information education approach had not achieved extent of change as expected. We're talking about positive change. The results usually were limited. Therefore, in recent years, both practitioners and international aid agencies are advocating SBCCs as the better approach. So there are two parts to it. SBCC has the BC part to it, which focuses on individuals as a focus of change, and the SC part focuses on the social change part, focuses on the community and society as the unit of change. When there's BC, behavior change, without SC, without social change, it's not SBCC, and without social change, as most of you who work in the development fields knows that behavior change at the individual level does not solve development problems at their root. So I think it's important that we prepare students for development work is to have them have this wide perspective, not just go in, take a toolkit about behavior change and do it. And there are many of those toolkits out there, but we want them to have background about social change, the critical perspective about what social change is about, what development is about. Many of you spoke on decolonization pedagogy, which takes a critical perspective on development. And that's really the SC, social change part that students need to be exposed to. They need to always connect those critical principles when they do behavior change. So the challenge is how to cover both social change and behavior change, go wide at the same time, dig deep in one semester long course. I developed a course that rely on collaborative learning in order to cover a wide range of materials. So go deep, go wide, and dig deep. So I will share my course sites with you. I taught this course several times, couple times, 2 or 3 times in person, and this last semester this spring, it was offered online because of the pandemic. And also there are more interest in online classes. So I will show you the courses and talk from there. Do you all see the course site? Yeah, Ellie, you see it, right? Okay. So the beginning, so this is the table of content of my course, kind of capture what the syllabus would look like. There are more details in the syllabus, but for visual aid purposes, this might be easier to see. The beginning of the course covers the big picture of communication for social change. So it's the social change part, the SE part, the critical part. The theories and concepts discussed lay the foundation for more practical skill development later on in the semester. So several weeks on the theoretical foundation and the concept and really the critical perspective on development. And then we move on some social change strategy and behavior change strategies. I cover the seminal work in the field of behavior change. And then we move on more contextualized application of some of these strategies and also cover the widely used implementation toolkits. So those are really practical aspects, more narrowed in terms of giving students a sense of what social change or development should look like from a more participatory perspective. So let me stop sharing this document. I would like to give you a glance at the range of materials that are covered in this course. So the materials covered in this course include theoretical pieces, pieces that are widely cited by practitioners, their research reports, their program reports, their case studies. So it's a wide range of different types of materials, from more critical piece, from very practical piece. And I also include implementation guides, webinars presented for practitioners, toolkits and implement, so on and so forth. So is anyone interested in this list? Feel free to email me. I'll share that. That will give you a good sense of what the field SBCC covers and what are the practitioners of really have been advocating or promoting or sharing, and or some of these so-called evidence-based method and approaches. But at the same time, in this course, I added the more theoretical pieces that those toolkits don't mention, more the critical pieces about the principles of development and so on and so forth. So this is not a reference list. I want to emphasize that. This is the list of materials that are actually covered in the course. So it's not like just out there, read whatever you want and we cover 5, 6 pieces or 10 pieces. No, My goal is really expose students to all of these materials in the course. So I can imagine you may be thinking, how can students possibly read all of these in one semester? So I don't want to just dig deep. I don't want to just go wide. I want to do both. So I'm going to share a little bit more about how I use the teaching approach called collaborative learning. Again, I'm going to take you back to my course site and show you a couple of examples. So in order to dig deep, let's start there. Each week, students share the assigned readings in groups, which I called reading club. Each group member in each reading club reads different chapters of a book, or different part of a toolkit, and then they come back together and share their summaries and get together and talk and discuss what they got out of the reading, as guided by question that I provided them and their own questions. The question that they discovered from the reading or question emerged from the reading. Just show you a couple of examples here. For example, this week when we are talking about context of social change. So this is what the reading club setup looks like. I divide the class into groups. So you can see that some students are assigned to read chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. This is not the group. The group is Seth, Aver, Caroline, and Thomas. So you can see that in each group, each member has read a different part of the book. This is the book Communicating Social Change, Structural, Cultural, and Agency. And let's go back to share screen. Did I lose that? Oh no, it's still there. And I use the same approach. Are you all seeing the website? Okay. I use the same approach to cover a book in 1 week. This is the week I cover the book, The Power of Positive Deviance. Again, student Emma, Christian, Allison are in one group, and each group member read several chapters of the book. And I go back, and the next week I covered the book Nudge, and the following I covered the book Switch, and I covered the book Persuasion for week 7, and I covered the whole manual social marketing in 1 week, week 8, and I cover the book, for example, Health Communication, the Media and Cultural Study Approach in 1 week. I covered the book Talking Climate in 1 week this way. And the advantage of this learning approach is that students are exposed to the key ideas from all the chapters of the book without having to read the whole book. Some books, such as Switch for this week, I don't know you have heard of this book before, some of you may have, is widely cited by practitioners in the field of social behavior change, global public health, and started to become popular in development studies as SBCC approach is required by International Development Project. So this book, Switch, covered steps of a whole process of bringing about behavior change. So with this kind of book, students do need to know all the chapters in order to make sense of the approach recommended. So the chapters cover different steps that are all essential to the approach, but each student is not reading the whole book. Again, they are try to do collaborative learning in a group. Gavin, Jessica, Morgan would be in a group. And when they get together in the reading club, after they finish their own part of the reading, they would have to work together to piece together this whole suggested behavior change process based on
Phyllis,
what each of them have read.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We're approaching 15 minutes past the hour, so we'll need to wrap up here.
Okay, I'll go a little faster then. Okay, so this is one way of going deep and at the same time cover a lot of materials. And another approach is also have students work on assignment collaboratively. And when students share, just show you one more thing here, and then I'll stop. Each week, student would work on a collaborative application assignment. That's another way to go wide and dig deep and do collaborative learning. This is one of the scenario you're helping to implement an SPCC project. This is the case. And these are the methods you can choose from. So student would just pick one and apply it. And then the outcome is that different students apply different tools to deal with the same case. And without really trying to read through the whole document about formative research methods. They read part of it, they pick one, two, but they get to see how other applies different approach to the case. So that's another way of dig deep and go wide. I think I'm out of time. Maybe I should stop here.
All right, thank you so much, Phyllis.